So what I did is I found one in Delta Math that looks like what I was talking about. I did not know this was going to be in the assignment. Someone came up and asked about this one, and I was like, "Oh my, I didn't think that was coming." So watch out. And again, I understand. Hold on, I got to pause again. Dang it. So the one that was brought to me, I'll copy it up here for you. It's going to look just like what we did in the notes. And quite frankly, you might think I'm wasting your time because, like, is Mr. Ahern losing his mind? We talked about this. This is different. You know from yesterday's notes that we had ourselves kind of broken into. There was like the first part that just always had that one fraction in front of the parentheses. And then there was the second part that had problems that kind of looked more like this. And we did three like this, but we didn't do any exactly. Does anyone spot the nuancy difference? It is. And that makes all the difference in the world. If I put a plus sign right here and I give this problem to 50 kids who are good students, 46 of them are going to get it right. If I switch it to a minus, especially like if you're not, I mean, you're just not listening. I switch it to a minus, the number correct goes down to like 20. And it's all because of the minus. You think, well, God, I'm in high school. I can subtract. It's not about that. So what we're going to do is attack this just like we did in our notes yesterday, and we're going to give full respect to the minus sign because he is a distributor, as you'll see. So what is the number that will successfully kill the two fractions in this problem? 20 is. I have to pick a number that can divide by both of them, not what they can both divide by. The answer to that would be 1. I'm asking what can divide by 4 and divide by 5, and the answer is 20. So 20 is our common killer. And now when I do my algorithm from yesterday, what is 20 divided by 4? So I'm going to write down my 5, and then in parentheses, I'm going to write down my x minus 1. You know from yesterday that the things that are on the tops of the fractions are like, it's almost like they're in parentheses. They don't get affected by the fraction kill step. They just drop. Now, this is it. All this for this. Here he is. Is it? There's a minus. This minus sign needs to be brought down. And if I sometimes seem like I get overly dramatic about things, it's because if you sit on this side of the desk for 28 years, you keep taking points off for the same things. And it really gets you to be like, I got to focus on this with these kids. That minus is a grade killer. Bring him down before you do the fraction kill. Now let's get back to the fraction kill. Let's go to my yellow numbers. This 20 and this 5. What's 20 divided by 5? So I'm going to stick a 4 here. And then, of course, as always, I'm going to drop down what was on the top of the fraction. Right? And then, of course, bless you, I'm going to multiply the 20 all the way across over to here. And 20 times -1 is -20. The reason that minus sign is so important, and that's why I always pause, like when I ask kids, what did you get there? And they say 4. Like if you mean to say -4, say -4, because that now, the second half of that left side is not little eensy beensy light work, right? That's negative distribution, and it's a big deal. So what I usually find with people that are only half listening through this is what they do, and you tell me why it's wrong. So I'm going to mess up. I'm taking one for the team. Here I go. I'm going in. 5x minus 5 minus, what is that? 4 times 2 is 8x. 4 times 3 is 12. And there it happens. And it feels so little to us while we do it. And it feels so little to us in math when we're like, oh, I just have to change a sign. If you say stuff like that, you don't understand. Changing signs is everything. It's the difference between a 98 in math class and a 56 on the ineligible list. Like it's everything. Your hand went right up right away, Cody. What did I do? I didn't distribute the -4. And that's always where the mistake happens on this problem. This minus sign that I've circled in green is it's a demon. So when that -4 distributes to that -3, I, of course, should have put +12. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. And I'd like to not finish the problem from here because I know that from here, you know to combine like terms, move stuff to the other side. I'd like to start another problem with you. Um, in fact, let me go over to Delta and just see if I can click and find one that looks, because then I can get a good one. Yeah, this one's good. So I'm just going to do it right here on this board. You guys cool with that? I can totally do that. That's legal, I think. Well, no, maybe I can't because, oh, it's over there. Yay. All right, so I'm going to click in here. I'm going to zoom in. Is that big enough? Oh yeah, that's huge. Oh, who's our fraction killer? It is 24. And again, I don't feel like I need to go through the whole finishing process. If you have questions beyond the fraction killing, then your questions are not about what we're doing. Your questions are about what we did last week. So I'll come help you if you have questions after that. It's this step. Multiplying by 24 has to go 4 places, right? Fraction, fraction, x, 9. Everyone's exposed. So when the 24 divides right here by the 8, what is 24 divided by 8? Good job. So I'm going to put down my 3. That's the leftover of the division, and then I'm going to multiply it by whatever was on the top of the fraction. And after this, I'm going to shut up because this is the last thing I wanted to show you. Now the 24 heads across and hits the second fraction, and when the fraction killer hits the fraction with a bottom that's the same as him, what do? Yeah, they just go away. And so it's imperative here that I take this, I'll switch colors here to purple. It's imperative that I take this minus sign and bring it down, because now when my 24s cancel each other, listen, I know normally that it doesn't matter, but that minus sign now tells me that I have to distribute a negative, or if you want to call it a -1, all the way through the x plus 7. Even when it's something as innocent as a 1, if it's got a minus in front of it, you got to give it full respect. And then, of course, the 24 multiplies to the other side. We get equals 24x plus, what is that, 1, 216. And then from there, I bet you've got it. So I hope the takeaway for you from this was respect the minus. When there's a minus in front of a fraction, full respect. Any questions about that? So what I'm going to do is pause the recording, and every time you guys have one, we're like, hey, can we do this one on the board? Then I'll unpause, and I'll just try to build it that way for you. So if you have questions, it's more efficient for everybody if you just, or effective if you just ask it out loud. Okay, thanks, guys. And then I'm going to make sure this is on, and yeah, I'm ready. You can read it to me if you want. You just going to show it to me? So this is, I got you. If anyone else is interested, come along for the ride. I say, hopefully, this is obviously for Aileen because it's her question. But I say every time you ask a question, you're gonna probably be helping out one of your homies. Yeah. So the first thing we want to do, and I mean the only first thing we want to do, is kill this 5. That's our target. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stick on a set of monster brackets like this, and we're going to multiply by 5. You know that. Okay, so what happens is the 5 multiplies here because that 8 is just out and exposed, and we get 40. You good with that? Okay, and then the 5 hops the equal sign, and it then jumps across and it multiplies to here. And what's interesting about this next one, the one with the white arrow, is you really never even have to do multiplication. Do you remember why? Because the 5s cancel each other out. That's actually the whole point of fraction killing, is that I'm going to circle these in purple for you, is that this 5 and this 5, they're like a 5/1 and a 1/5. Do you see how they would just cancel each other? That's really what's going on here. And so when the 5s just boom, kill each other, all that's left behind is the 3. The 3 basically just falls down, and then the stuff in parentheses comes out of it untouched. So you got this far. Nice. So the next thing that we could do, we have a couple of choices. One of them is a terrible choice, and one is a good one. Dividing by 3 would be terrible. Do you know why? Because 40 can't divide by 3. So you should never do a division early in the problem like this if it's going to result in fractions, because it's like we just worked hard to get rid of the dang fraction. Why do we want to make another one? So what we're going to do instead is we're going to take this 3 and we're going to distribute it through to get rid of those parentheses. Plus, nice job. So after, is this what you have on your paper? So after all of this, I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to come down to you typing into your calculator or into the Delta Math. I bet you typed in -35/21, and Delta Math told you it was wrong. And you're sitting there wondering why it's wrong. And if it makes you feel any better, you're about the 7th or 8th student today who has done every little bit of math perfectly and forgot to reduce their fraction. Puedes dividir los dos números por 7. 21 y 35. Puedes dividir los dos por 7. First thing we have to do is subtract the 75 from both sides like this. And let me just get caught up to you for anyone that's still paying attention. We have 21x equals negative 35. And you're just going about business as usual, divide by 21, divide by 21, and then you get x equals, and you're like, boy, I am awesome. And I got to tell you, as your algebra teacher, if you made it this far, you are awesome. You got to divide those numbers both by 7. Right. So if you divide them both by 7, you wind up with negative 5/3. So you went all that way. Your question had nothing to do with fractions, distribution, solving equations. Delta Math will not give you any hints. It's an emotionless, heartless piece of computerized software. If your fraction is right but not reduced, it just says no and doesn't even tell you why.